January 20th, 7 p.m. It will be done electronically. The mayor wants me to read this notice of electronic meeting. In accordance with resolution number 2020-07-20R, it has been determined that conducting meetings of the Planning Commission with an anchor location such as the City Council chambers presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. The following are facts upon which this determination has been made. Utah has been in a declared state of emergency due to COVID-19 since March 6, 2020. A virus outbreak that has been recognized by the World Health Organization, federal, state, and local leaders as a pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has stated that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another through respiratory droplets. When an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, this virus can also be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. As reported by the Utah Department of Health, reported COVID-19 cases in Utah County continue to rise at a higher rate than reported rates for the state. Federal, state, and local authorities recommend that individuals limit public gatherings, wear face masks, and follow social distancing guidelines. It is difficult to anticipate the number of attendees at any meeting in order to maintain social distancing to comply with state-phased guidelines. Further, regardless of the number of attendees, social distancing measures for Planning Commission staff and attendees will be difficult to maintain in the City Council chambers. COVID-19 continues to pose an immediate threat to the health, safety, and welfare of American Fork City residents. American Fork City can provide a way for the public to hear and view open portions of Planning Commission meetings and to provide a way to participate in public hearings. For at least the next 30 days, all Planning Commission meetings will be conducted via electronic means. The meetings are broadcast live streamed and available at a later time at americanfork.gov/agenda center. I'll make a public comment, email comments to Zoom public comments at afcity.net prior to 5 p.m. the day of the meeting for the comment to be read into the record. Please indicate in the subject line which items your comments are referred to. First on the agenda, we have a hearing, review, and action on a petition to determine the eligibility to amend the interblock cottage development overlay map to include property located at 440 South, 100 East. Adam, would you lead us in this one, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first item, as you stated, this is a request to amend the interblock cottage overlay map to include property at approximately 440 South and 100 East. You can see it highlighted in green on your screens. This was the recent subject of a zone map amendment that the council ultimately denied. They felt that the underlying zone of R2 7500 should remain in place. And so what the applicant is requesting is consideration of the interblock overlay to develop this as an interblock development. Just to give you a little background on interblock developments, we have them in other areas of the city. They are single family homes on small lots that average 6,000 square feet. They're limited to single story, and there's some other provisions. They do have some reduced setbacks, but it's typically used to fill the interblock areas with development that may not otherwise be able to be easily or readily developed. The initial plan was to place some multifamily structures on this property, but the zone change did not go through. Again, he's requesting that this be included in the interblock overlay, and if it is, then he may proceed with a smaller lot single family development. If this is not granted approval, he still has development options in the R2 7500 zone. The lots would be slightly bigger, and he also has the option for duplexes in the existing zone. So this is simply just a request of the applicant.
All right, any questions or comments for planning? Hearing none. Engineering, would you like to comment on this one, please?
Engineering didn't have a lot of comments. It's an existing parcel, and you know, a lot of some of the infrastructure is there. But you know, it wouldn't be where the additional infrastructure is needed would be able to be accommodated with the zone change. And so we don't have any concerns or issues and would recommend approval.
Any comments or concerns for engineering from the commissioners? Hearing none, I understand the applicant's here. Would he like to address the commission with this project?
I'm here. This is Jared DeHart. The reasoning for this is the shape of that property is it's an awkward shape. And to utilize it, it actually worked really well to have the smaller lots. That's why, I mean, back into the corner of the property could be utilized as a ground that could be used for a lot. Whereas if it was even developed into duplex or fourplex lots, it was really hard to use that back corner for anything. But as a interblock cottage development, it actually worked really well for that. So that was the reason that I am proposing it.
Do you plan to
That's all I
access it
have.
off? Do you plan to access it off First East with a cul-de-sac to get back into that western portion of the property?
Cul-de-sac or a stub road or a loop road, depending on how it works out.
Any other questions or concerns for the applicant from the commissioners? Because I have a little concern if we go ahead and put this in the interblock interlay, it's not in the central part of the city where it was specifically designed. If we go ahead and rezone this or put the overlay on this, is that going to open the door for future developers wanting the same thing all over the city is my only concern. What does the commission feel about that?
The last request we had for inclusion of an overlay was, I believe, it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was over, it was off of 3rd East, a little east of 3rd East, and about, I think between Main Street and First North. So it's been that long since we've had a request. While this is outside of the initial area for the interblock overlay, it's arguably still within the traditional, blocks of the city. But I could understand if you feel that it's just too far out. That would,
Can I make a comment?
That makes sense.
This is the
Go ahead.
applicant. Can I make another comment?
Yes.
Based on the map that I was given, this property actually is bordering the interblock cottage interlay, and it was a triangle that was taken out for some reason. Maybe, I don't know why exactly, but it's bordering it. So it's not like you're adding it to it. It almost actually looks like it should have already been in it, but that's my opinion.
The closest interblock that I'm aware of is up on 2nd South, just kind of northeast of the grade school there, where it kind of loops in behind by the creek. That's the nearest one I'm aware of. Is that correct, Adam?
Yeah, based on this map, that would be, it's about 2 blocks north.
Yeah, 40 east and 160 south, where it loops around that corner. That's the closest interblock overlay I'm aware of.
Maybe I was given the wrong map, but Windeline gave me the map and had it outlined, and it looked like it was bordering this property. But anyways, I still would request it, even if it's not. I don't know that there's a subdivision next to it, but it looked like that everything around it was included in the interblock subdivision, except for the road and the freeway.
Well, this interblock overlay was designed for the central core of the city, the old pioneer blocks that were quite large with the centers that have become more or less delinquent ever since they've developed around the outer edges of the blocks.
I'm just double checking on a map as well, just for my own sake.
While he's looking at it, do we have any other feelings from the commissioners? How do you feel about this?
Well, I guess I have a question of just consistency with land use. I mean, is everything around it seems to be more residential single dwelling homes, and are we now introducing something that's perhaps inconsistent with the surrounding area, and it's just perhaps the wrong use for the property? I'm just, it's just a question that I had. I guess I'm not necessarily opposed. It just seems inconsistent.
The
Well,
surrounding area is pretty much
the
full
inner
of
blocks
homes.
themselves are single family homes. They're not
Single.
multifamily.
Okay. Okay.
There's a trailer park just north of this parcel, but most of the homes in the area are single unit homes.
Okay.
There are a few duplexes in the area and so forth, but it's
I know there's some duplexes just north of this, just up the street.
Yeah, the inner block is, like I said, just single family. It's smaller lot, single family.
Okay.
So I feel like this is, I'm in favor of this. I feel like it is something that would blend in well because it is single family detached units, one story. I don't feel like they would be oppressive to live next to. It's not like it's a a high rise building or anything. I feel like it's a really efficient use of the land given this kind of difficult space to use. Being able to make them more compact. And I'm in favor of the cottage communities in general. They create kind of more of a connected community. They share, I don't know exactly how this one will be built, but in general, they share green space and so they create kind of more social interaction, more of a connected community feel. They tend to be safer places because they pass each other on their way to their front door. Sometimes they share parking and then share sidewalks that lead to their doors. And I don't know if this one would do that, but I feel like it's important to offer housing options like this that are diverse to accommodate people with smaller households who are looking for something more compact and easy to maintain. I just feel like this is a really good diverse thing that our city can offer for housing affordability and for just families who are, older couples who are looking to downsize and don't want to have to maintain a yard and things like that. I would be in support of cottage communities like this, lots of places in the city.
what's the acreage of this piece of ground, Adam?
I can double check on that.
I'm just wondering how many small parcels can we put in there?
It's a 2-acre parcel of ground. I've drawn a rough map of it, and you would, including the existing house, would have 11 houses.
Including the house that's already there, huh?
Yes, 11
So-
total.
The map that you have on your screens, this was the map that was adopted with the original ordinance. I think the difference between this one and the other one with the aerial is it showed the actual boundary of the overlay, and what is highlighted in the middle of those blocks to the north is just, some potential configurations, but it looks like Mr. DeHart is right in that this is just adjacent to that original boundary. So that's something that we can have our GIS clean up and show that original boundary. So you can see this here towards the bottom of your map where 100 East goes under the freeway, just a little further to the right there.
Okay. Any other comments or concerns from the commissioners and or the developer?
Well,
I would make one more comment, just a thought to think about. I mean, the whole reason I had of doing this is I worked on a project up in Salt Lake that was more of like an inner block subdivision, and it was more of a net zero home, but it was a high-end home that was on a very small lot, which that's kind of where I got the idea. And I don't know that these homes would meet that criteria. This is close to Liberty Park. I mean, this project, actually across the street, there is a park, kitty corner along the freeway there. I mean, it's kind of close to a few parks actually. And it gives somebody the ability to have a small yard, but not have to have a big yard to maintain and have a little cheaper home, smaller home to live in. And some people really like that in today's world.
how do you plan on addressing the noise from the freeway? Because it's right up against the freeway. I know there's a sound wall there, which is looking to have quite a bit of noise from the freeway. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, that's why I'm saying it's probably not going to be a really high-end home, but it can be a decent home and cater to somebody that doesn't really want a large lot to take care of, but they don't want to be connected to their neighbor.
That makes sense.
And one thing to keep in mind with that, with those sound walls, is the closer you are to the sound wall, the greater the noise reduction benefit.
Pretty much goes up and over, I guess, right?
Correct.
And this is right square dab against the north side of the freeway there.
Yes.
Any other comments or concerns from commissioners at this time, please?
I'll just add that I actually am within agreement with Christine. I think it's a wonderful product. Personally, I'd rather have single family homes detached than a bunch more duplexes. I'm actually sitting at my parents' home, which is, well, almost the exact same far south as this particular parcel, and about a block east from where this is. And obviously having development in this area of the, this part of town, being in a qualified opportunity zone, whether that's being utilized or not, the point is that we're trying to develop and introduce growth and development in perhaps some of these areas that may not otherwise see it. And so in my mind, I'm with you. This may have got just accidentally left out, but it seems to fit in the original overlay as well. So I would personally be in favor.
All right. Well, this does require a public hearing. We have no public comments, so we'll open the meeting for public comment. Knowing there's nobody there, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I'm in favor of a motion from someone, please, on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval of the amendment to include the property at 440 South, 100 East in the interblock cottage overlay map.
All right.
Into the interblock cottage overlay map.
Thank
That
you. I
was
have a
Jeff.
motion from Jeff. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Christine. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Christine?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Harold?
Aye.
Rod?
Aye.
Chris? Chris, are you there? Gwendolyn, is he muted or is he even here?
Raise one arm for yes and two arms for no.
Well, I can't see him either way, so I don't know if he's even
He
there.
raised one.
He raised one.
For whatever reason, we don't have sound, but I could see him raise his arm.
All right,
Yeah,
Ryan.
That's the problem with this.
I'm in favor. Aye.
All right, Chairman votes aye also. It's unanimous, 7-0. Where does he go from here then, Wendling?
This will go to council in about 3 weeks, just the regular turnaround. They'll have the minutes prepared and everything will be given to them. And that would be the
Second week of
I think
February.
the second meeting in February,
All
I
right,
think.
all right, moving on then. Hearing, oh, and thank
Thank
you,
you.
applicant. We appreciate you being. Second motion or second item is hearing, review, and action on various amendments to section 17.7.507.f.5.b and 17.7.507.f.6.b.3a and 17.12.204 and related sections which address transportation facilities. Adam?
Yes, I'll introduce this. These revisions come to you at our recommendation, so through staff's recommendation. What this does is this will provide some clarification on the use of alleys and a new term that we're adding into the code called drive aisles. The definition of alley will now be consistent where it's addressed in the code. how they may be used, and then an updated standard that engineering has provided. And then also we're adding a definition of drive aisle, and then also standards and where those can be used. And so this again will provide some consistency and allow an additional type of access in certain types of development that we've seen move forward. It's fairly straightforward. I see this as more of a housekeeping item and cleaning up the code and making there be greater consistency. But I know Ben may address you with the new standards that they've drawn up, but we can both jump in and answer any questions you have.
Well, I understand this is kind of a confusion eliminator also, right?
Yeah, it should provide that consistency and clean up the code. So the figure that you have before you, that will be deleted. And then new figures will be added in different areas of the code to address alleys and drive aisles.
Do we have the fire department's input on this change?
Yes, they were part of the kind of the work sessions we had with staff. So their input was taken and illustrated in these revised standards.
Okay. Any questions or concerns for Adam from the commission? If not, we'll go to engineering. Ben?
Yeah, as Adam alluded to, there were just several sections in code that over time, as things have been modified, there were some inconsistencies. And so we have been able to incorporate these changes so that it's more consistent throughout the entire code and eliminate some of that confusion. Some of these cross sections were actually already previously adopted at various times by other ordinances and have been a part of code. There was one instance where some of the code was kind of cleaned up and we had some of these exhibits in two different locations. So it had been removed from one location so that it was just identified in one section of the code instead of having two different sections with the same detail. So some of the cleanup just refers back to these drawings that have been previously adopted, incorporated into code so that it's more consistent throughout the code. So that's a lot of what it is, just a lot of the cleanup and making it more consistent. We would recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Any comments or concerns for engineering from the commission?
I have one. Ben, could you just maybe help me understand what the difference is now between an alley and a drive aisle?
So generally what you end up is within certain developments, like you'll see alleys a lot down in the TOD code, and there's other sections which identify alleys as being available to use, but where the units that have a back alley are otherwise fronting other streets, public streets, or in some instances, common space. And whereas a drive aisle may be more identified, like in the instance of a single lot with multiple units that are for rent and available, that there just wasn't really a definition that, you know, provided clarity as to what that is. So drive aisle is basically more of a, it's not the same as an alley and it's not the same as a parking lot, but provides access to units that are otherwise on, you know, that otherwise don't have some of those other instances, you know, like where you'd have like townhomes that are owned separately that front a street and have an alley access. A drive aisle is a little bit different application where those units aren't, you know, are owned by the same entity and aren't individually owned.
I see. Thank you.
Any other comments or concerns?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thanks. No comments though.
You just want to make sure we hear
I'll
you.
make sure you can hear me.
All right, this one also requires a public hearing. We still have no public comments, right, Wendling?
No comments on this one.
All right, we'll open the meeting for public hearing. No comments, we'll close the public hearing. I guess we're in need of a motion on this item, please, from someone.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval of the proposed amendments to the development code.
Have have a motion from Rod. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Chris.
Second from Chris. All right. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Christine,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Harold,
Aye.
Rod,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and Ryan.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye also. It passes unanimously, 7-0. All right, moving on. Other business. Does anybody have any other business we need to bring forward? I know I've been contacted by Dr. Bell's son called me over the last week. He would like to come before us possibly as early as next meeting on the 3rd of February as a discussion item only to discuss what they want to do with downtown at the CC1 zone, in particular the east boundary of it, how it actually goes to the area over there by south of the elementary school, Forbes. He was kind of concerned about that. He was concerned about parking. I told him we couldn't really discuss it in any detail, just him and I on the phone. He'd have to ring before the entire commission. So he was going to contact City Public Works and get on the agenda for a discussion only, hopefully as soon as next meeting. I don't know if he's done that or not, but that's up to Venlin and Adam when he approaches them.
I've
Anybody
not
have
had any contact from him regarding any kind of request to be on a meeting, so I'll just wait. And if he
Yeah,
does
just
reach
wait.
out, then we can address it then.
Just wait and see what he says, because I
Mhm.
know Councilman Barnes sent him to me. And I had to explain to him that we couldn't discuss it just one-on-one. It had to become before the whole commission. So be prepared to listen to this gentleman with what he hopes to do with the CC1 zone and the high density housing and the boundaries, especially over there on the east end. So sometime in the near future, hopefully we'll get to hear from him. Anybody else have any other business? If not, we'll move on to site plan committee report. Venlin, what's it looking like?
So this is our draft agenda. You can see that we do have another application for a land use and zone map amendment at 55 East, 1100 South. And there is a discussion on the CC1 zone. So that may have come to us through other channels than what you had mentioned, but it seems to be pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Dr. Bell said he was going to bring it forward, but he didn't say if he'd already done it or who he'd talked to, and that other than he'd talked to Councilman Barnes, the only one I know whether he talked to.
Yeah. Then otherwise we have the election of planning commission officers, and I will include our meeting schedule for this year just for your information, so that for everyone's personal long range planning, that you know when we are going to have the planning commission meetings.
We do have a month or two when the first day of the month is actually a Wednesday, right? That kind of messes things up for scheduling.
Yes, whenever that happens, we move the meetings back so that they stay in sync with the city council meetings.
All right, sounds good. We'll get down. The next item on the agenda is review and action on the minutes of the January 6th, 2021 Planning Commission regular session. I need a motion and a second on that, please, from someone.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of the January 6th Planning Commission regular session. And I want to say that was a meeting with a lot of discussion, and Lisa was a superstar.
All right, thank you. We have a motion from Christine. Do I have a second on the minutes?
Second, Jeff.
Second from Jeff. All right. Any further comments on the minutes? If not, we'll take a roll call vote. Christine,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Harold,
Aye.
Rod,
I missed the meeting, so I'll abstain.
Chris,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
and I'll abstain from, I wasn't here either. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yays. The motion passed. All right, we're down to the big one. Need a motion for adjournment, please.
Move to adjourn. Jeff?
Jeff, okay.
Second by Ryan.
Second by Ryan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you much, everybody. Another fun-filled evening.
See you guys.
Thanks, good night.
See you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody.
See ya. Good night.